Good evening. Today is November 19th, 2015. This is Dr. Tanya Lowe, your Chief Riot Starter, and I want to welcome everyone to the preview call for the 2016 Riot Starter Symposium. Over the next few weeks, you'll have the opportunity to meet each of the speakers presenting at the 2016 symposium. So I encourage you to hop over to theriot.starter.com to check out all of the speakers and to see the amazing lineup. And while you're there, nominate someone for the Perseverance Award and grab your ticket. It's going to be an amazing symposium next year. Each presenter during this teleseries will present some dynamic nuggets that you'll be able to use before February, and hopefully will inspire you to come out and be with us for the full day and take a deep dive with the presenter on that day. So tonight, Chi Chi, are you on the line? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Tanya.
Great.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello? Chi Chi, are you there? So while we're waiting on Chi Chi to join the line again.
Yes, can you hear me, Tanya?
I can hear
Dr.
you now.
Tanya?
Yes.
Yeah,
I wonder if you had your line muted.
You got disconnected, so I hung up and dialed again.
Great. Welcome back to the call. Welcome back to the call. So I was just telling everybody of giving folks a little bit of information about your amazing background, 2 networking books, and that you are working on a patent for networking software. So, Chi Chi, kind of fill in the gaps with some additional information about yourself. Tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I blog as a champion networker. I do that about 4 times a week. This is where I give just different tips on better ways of networking, and I try to make it very specialized. Instead of just saying get out there and network, having a strategy and definitely a purpose and objective behind your networking. My background is I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My parents are Nigerian, so I'm first generation born in the United States and moved to Atlanta, Georgia before the Olympics, so 92, 93. Started high school here, went to college here, and ended up just staying, and I've loved it ever since.
Wow. Atlanta has a way of doing that to people. They
right.
get you here, and you just forget about going back to where you came from.
Exactly.
So, Chi Chi, tell us about your number one amazing networking experience because, you know, here in Atlanta, people network constantly. There's always a networking event going on, and people have different feelings about networking. Some people, you either love it or you don't love it. And so for those folks who are listening that are thinking, why are we even talking about networking? Can you share one of your most awesome, amazing networking experiences?
I can. I have a few, but this is probably my number one.
Okay.
Before I started doing simple networking, I was translating. So I majored in French cultural studies when I was in school, and started actually learning French when I was 11 in Brooklyn. And I didn't think I would take it that far. So I was doing translations, and one of the things that I always recommend, and what I'll be talking about tonight, is the power of referrals, being able to understand the importance of referrals, getting referrals, and even giving referrals. But in the case, I was on the preferred vendor list or preferred translator list for the French consulate here in Atlanta. And they referred me to a company who is a French company based in Paris, and they are looking to do marketing and broaden their offering, their product offering in the United States. And so I was connected with this group and ended up doing different types of trade shows for them, translating, talking with them. And part of the trade shows also included having dinner with the company as well as their potential distributors. And that was probably one of the most fascinating networking experiences, being able to, of course, have dinner, as well as learning cultural do's and don'ts when it comes to business, especially within that industry. I'm learning a lot more about the French culture and different types of interactions, verbal, nonverbal communication. And we've stayed in touch since then. It's been probably about 10 years. And so even with the attacks that have happened recently in Paris, I was still able to reach out to my colleagues and friends to make sure they were okay. And that really meant a lot to me. So that's probably my number one networking experience thus far.
Wow. And, of course, we're adding to those every day, right?
Exactly.
So, Chi Chi, from that experience, from that opportunity, what do you want the listeners what do you want their takeaway to be from that experience that you had?
The takeaway definitely is to diversify your networks. A lot of times when I interact with, business professionals and working professionals, entrepreneurs, they really kind of pigeonhole themselves and only want to work with a certain group. For example, I can meet a young African-American lady that has a business and says, I just want to work with female entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Or I can meet an accountant that says that I only want to work with accountants or people in my field. And this particular group, the majority of them are, they are, well, I can't say, they are French, okay? Mm-hmm. So they're not American. They are entrepreneurs, and they have different backgrounds, and they're mostly men anyway because of the industry. So that was definitely a different aspect for me, being African-American, female, first generation, born in the United States. Many events I go to, I am the only black person. And I say black because that's more of a universal term. I can be the youngest. I can be the only American. I can be the only female. So I really challenge my business counterparts to really diversify their networks and be able to, because once you do that, you definitely develop skills that you didn't think you had, and it puts you in a better position for more unique opportunities.
Chi Chi, that's awesome. I tell the story about how I started networking before networking became the phenomenon that it is
Right.
today over 20 years ago. I thought I
Mhm.
was just out meeting people to add to my network to help me either find a job or find an internship or help me gain additional skills. And so I've learned so much about networking and developing relationships with people. To not only help myself, but also to give as well. Also to give
Oh,
as well.
exactly.
So I don't want to keep this great information that you have to share from our listeners. We've got quite a few people on the line tonight. I don't want to keep this information away from them. So my next question is going to be why should entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs network? The theme for the 2016 symposium is entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs discovering the possibilities together. And your lane is networking, network like a pro. So I'm going to turn it over to you and talk about why should people network.
Networking is so vital. Like you said, whether you're doing it consciously or subconsciously, there's so many different benefits to networking. And there's research out there now, and I talk about this in a few of my seminars and workshops, where they've done case studies to show how small to medium-sized businesses have been able to benefit both socially and financially through networking. So I know some people think networking is just, it's an after hours mix and mingle, you're just getting to know people, and it's kind of just a social thing, but it's really not. It's not at all. As a matter of fact, from some of the research, it shows that networking helps businesses not only to sustain themselves, but also to grow and to be able to use their internal resources much more wisely.
Wow. So you've got 3 lanes that you are going to discuss tonight. Will you go ahead and share those 3 areas of why people should also network? I think the first one is to develop a strong pitch. Tell me about that. What's up with the pitch?
Oh, the pitch is so critical. When I talk about branding, I say people have 3 images. They have their physical image, of course. They have written image, such as business cards, maybe correspondences, emails. And they have their verbal image. And their verbal image is that elevator pitch, that 30-second pitch. If networkers are able to have a concise way of saying who they are, what they do, what solutions they solve, then that makes them more credible in their field. It makes them adds more trust, and it looks so much more professional and polished.
So that's the physical, the written, and the verbal image.
Right, correct.
Okay. All right, great. And then what's the next little nugget you want to share about why people should network?
Well, people should network because it saves time and it's very efficient in the type sense of resource sharing. For me, I've been able to find a lot of different softwares that have helped me with accounting, with marketing, even with getting referrals and having even just a better image on my website from different recommendations from colleagues and friends that I've met through networking events or through other mutual friends where we have overlapping networks. So it's definitely a great way to share resources, to be more efficient, to be more effective, I find.
So what would you tell someone who says, I've gone to several networking meetings and I've not gotten any business. I just left with a stack of business cards and no one called me and blah, 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 the stories that we hear. How do you tell people about, how to kind of get over that?
Right. Well, part of it is you have to be focused. I'm not saying that the person wasn't, but if they have like specific goals or specific objectives for networking, then that will kind of determine what type of events that they should go to, because sometimes you may go to a networking event, but it may not be the right event for you in regards to the goals that you have for networking or for your business or for your career or for your academics. The other thing is just being, like I said, being more strategic. So when you're going to these events, who are you talking to? What type of conversations are you having? What type of questions are you asking? And how are you linking up with these people? I mean, yes, people are not necessarily going to call you back. Sometimes you have to make that initial connection or that follow through, which we'll talk about later on. So many times you have to be assertive and reach out. The other thing is when it comes to networking, it's not about collecting cards. So that could be another issue. I did like a networking challenge, Dr. Tonya, where I encouraged some of my participants that went to networking events. I told them, do not give out your card unless someone asks for it. Mm-hmm. And that changes the whole dynamics because a lot of times we're just throwing cards around. But if someone says, it was such a pleasure meeting you, Dr. Tonya. You have such a great practice. I want to learn more about it, see how we can partner, or at least how I can refer people to you. Can I have your card? You definitely know you have someone that's interested, that's going to follow up, and that can be healthy for your network as opposed to you thinking this person needs my services, this person can value what I have, and you just offer your card. They probably are not the perfect client or the perfect partner for you.
Wow. So it goes back to developing relationships.
Absolutely.
Taking that time to find out about how you can serve servant leadership. How can I help you? How can we help each other? And not being so quick to try to make a sale.
Right. Exactly.
You said something about the right event, and that's something that I find myself challenged with sometimes being in a metropolitan city is trying to find the right event to that I should attend. Where should I go? There's so many events here in Atlanta to choose from, but so for a new networker, there's someone who's thinking, I want to add networking to my 2016 agenda. What kind of feedback would you give someone who's considering stepping out into networking?
I definitely encourage them to create a networking calendar where they can be consistent. One of the things that I found is that perhaps, someone can go to a networking event. It can be a great event, and these events can be hosted maybe once every 2 months or maybe once a quarter, but they only attend one particular event. So you definitely want to be consistent in your networking and go as often as possible, aligning yourself with groups and organizations that really run parallel with your core values is important. Yes, we all want to make money, be successful, and contribute, but at the same time, you have to be genuine and true to yourself. I find that when you do that, you align yourself with the proper core values, then there's really no type of discrepancy. You don't really feel like you're doing something that goes against your values, because one thing you may value, someone else may not value as much or at all.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so the final question that I have for you is, how can networking help grow my business? How does networking help grow my business?
Networking can help grow businesses from many different angles. Definitely from a financial standpoint, going to different events like we mentioned, or proper events that line up to your goals and your objectives to find potential clients and partners. It can also be, like I said, a way of information sharing where you're able to add more value within your products and your services by having better technology, better marketing, things of that nature. And networking can also help your business in the type sense where if you join a particular association, maybe a chamber of commerce, then you're able to interact with colleagues or like-minded people that can refer business to you.
Wow. Wow. Chi Chi Okezie, guys. You guys are listening to Chi Chi Okezie. She has provided us with some amazing tips on networking, and I hope that you want to come out and hear her take a deep, deep, deep dive on February 5th, 2016 at the Commerce Club in Atlanta. Chi Chi,
Yes.
tell our listeners what is a resource that you use that you just can't live without in your business?
Is my cell phone.
Okay, other than your cell phone, because I think that would be everyone's resource. But other than your cell phone, is there an app or any other resource or tool that you use?
I'm very old school. I live by my calendar. I am such a Google girl, and anytime I have something going on, if it goes through my email, of course. I mean, I have my regular email, and everything is forwarded through Gmail. But once I get it in my Gmail, I can easily put it on my calendar, and I'm good to go. And this has been extremely helpful because when I started networking and when I was an entrepreneur, the biggest thing, yes, of course, having product, having good service is extremely important, but also being on time for meetings was important. And I knew that if I was late or if I missed the meeting altogether, the deal is gone. That's it. You know, you can always find someone. You know, Atlanta's a big city, like you said, Dr. Tanya, so they can find someone else. You know, it's not a big deal for them. So I knew I had to be on my A game. And right. So for that reason, I always put everything on my calendar, which is, of course, synced to my phone, to my tablet, to my computer. But that's one thing that I desperately cannot live without. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. That's probably one of my first go-tos is my calendar. Where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing? Who am I supposed to talk to? So I thank you so much for being on this, taking this time and doing this preview call with us this evening. How can people connect with you?
They can connect with me via LinkedIn, as well as going to my website, www.snseminars.com. I'm also on Twitter, as well as Pinterest and Facebook.
Great. And you guys can also connect with Chi Chi on Friday, February 5th, 2016 at the Riot Starter Symposium that's going to be held in Atlanta. So please go and visit the website, theriot.starter.com, and grab your early bird ticket tonight. Now, Chi Chi, you and I were talking earlier, and, you know, you're such a giver. And you've got something special. You've got a special gift, don't you?
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Tanya. Thank you for reminding me. For those who do sign up through the website, theriot.starter.com, I will offer a teleseminar for networking entitled My Top 5 Networking Tips for Big Success. And I know people always talk about networking tips, but these are very special and unique, untraditional, but still very effective ways of networking that you probably have never thought of before.
Wow. My top 5 networking tips for
big
success. For success. I want to grab 3 copies of those because I know people that need them. And I know that there are people listening to this call that need that resource. So not only have you had a chance to meet Chi Chi in advance and get a few nuggets to take away, but you'll also get a chance to meet her in February as well as grab this amazing resource. So I encourage you to go now to theriot.starter.com and register. If we have any of our past participants on the line, you can register at the past participant rate. And all of our listeners who are maybe first-time listeners, you can register at the early bird rate. It's going to be an amazing opportunity to really take 2016 to the next level. Chi Chi, any closing words that you'd like to share?
Definitely. One of the things that I did talk about earlier, when you're networking, I think the biggest way of being successful to making a difference and actually enjoying networking, because a lot of people say that they hate networking, is to just be consistent. Don't start strong and then die off.
Right, exactly.
Just follow through and be consistent. And it makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm.
Yes, great. Thank you. Well, guys, you are listening to Dr. Tanya Lowe, the Riot Starter, and Chi Chi Okezie, the Queen of Networking. And we thank you for being on the call with us this evening. Join us on Tuesday. We will be talking with Oliver Dorsey, and he is the networking, the social enterprise guru, the nonprofit guru, will be talking to us about social enterprise. So thanks for being on the call with us tonight. Thank you, Chi Chi, and until next time.